Hi, my name is Matt Callender, and this is my submission for the Wardenburg Clinical 3 opportunity. So, for your first question, in terms of my greatest strength, I think it would be my adaptability slash situational understanding. When I started my first rotation, I thought that my job as a PT was you create your plan and you do that because that was the best way to give the greatest care to your patient. And after reflection midway through my first rotation, I realized that I was the most effective and I was able to establish a stronger relationship with my patient when I was more willing to switch up the plan that day and meet my patient where they were in that moment. And so during that rotation, there was often times where I was ready to bump my patient up, give them a new functional activity, really kind of push them to be more towards the return to work phase. But they would come in after a hard day, like maybe something happened with their work or they were just having a struggle with the rehabilitation process because it is not a linear process. I learned that very quickly. And what I had wanted to do, what I had planned to do, was going to be too much for that patient. It was going to be too overwhelming and therefore not effective. I got really good at being able to change up the plans. That plan B, that in my head was not the best plan, was often the better plan. It was something that I was able to kind of bring down the workload a little bit, still working towards my patient's goals, but letting them know that I see where you are in that moment. And it's okay if we have to take a step back. We're still going to try something, but I see where you are. And because of that, when I had those easy days, the times where I wanted to push him a bit more, my patient looked at me and was like, "I trust you. You see me. You know, you know, there are things that if I say I can't do it, you know, I mean it and you will change up your plan." I had a patient tell me that to my face. And I was glad that they knew I would do that. Like while I have plan while things I want to do, there's always something else I can do that is still going to be effective. And I think that I just kind of built off of that and that became my like treatment plan as a patient, was just kind of work with who they were in that moment. But then also if I look at it in a care team perspective, I got really good at being able to adapt to what team needs and how the team wants to provide the best patient care. So on my last rotation, I often worked with OT, and there'd be some patients where the eval needed to be a bit more OT heavy versus PT heavy. And I was okay with making that switch. I was going to help the OT do their things because that's what the patient needed. And because I was able to do that, I was able to have a way better relationship with my care team. They trusted my thoughts and they were willing to do things that sometimes I was pushing a bit more because they know that I was seeing the picture as a whole. If I need to adapt, I will adapt, and they were going to adapt for me. And because of that environment that we all were able to create, we were just able to provide really, really strong and effective patient care. And so I think it's the adaptability. I got really, really good at that. So if a patient came to my clinic crying, I've actually had a lot of experience with this, not just with my last rotation working with patients who have eating disorders, but also when I was a personal trainer, a lot of my clients were college students, but then also just women and new gym eras, or sometimes even postpartum. So they were like new bodies plus new gym eras. And I realized the emotional and the mental really, really impacts your physical. So in this moment, what I would want to do is just take a second, maybe grab a tissue and just ask, how can I help you? Do you want to talk about it? And during my last rotation, I would have patients who would jump at the opportunity, get it off their chest. They'd feel so great, and we'd be able to jump into PT. And I'd have some patients that would just respectfully decline, that they didn't want to talk about it. They just wanted to continue. They wanted to do PT that day. They wanted to do movement. And that was how I could best serve them. But what I did by just asking them, giving them that space, it showed them that I was seeing them as a whole. PT wasn't just a place where you had to zip up your feelings. We could talk about it. I was going to be aware that this is going on for you, and you could unload it in this space. And so it helped my patients trust me a bit more. And I also was able to provide them better care because I was able to read them a lot better because they were willing to have their full feelings around me. And I think if I look back at it and I had taken, if in this situation, I just try to go on business per usual, I may just be providing bad care because the physical is impacted. Your emotional and your mental will impact your physical ability to do movement, to like just do exercise that day. But it'll also impact your motivation to engage with the care that I'm giving. And so I'm not going to be as effective. And so what harm would I do by just asking, how can I help you? Or maybe would you like to go to the bathroom, because an open gym space is maybe just not make the patient feel comfortable if they're just having a whole bunch of emotions. There's always something that I can do to take a step back, see what the patient needs, and if that is continuing with PT per usual, that's what we'll do, but I will stop and take that moment first. Now, in the other situation where my patient had a few troubles and came in late, my first thought is I want to de-escalate. I want to affirm the patient because they're probably coming with a whole bunch of stress, anxiety, so much energy, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed. Tell them I get it. Like, mishaps happen as a normal part of life. It is okay that that happened. But say we have 25 minutes left. I want them to know that I'm still willing to treat them, and there are things that we can still do to make this effective. Like, I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that, and I want to make that worth your while by still showing up today. Let's go do some things. Because I do think sometimes when you have all that things happen, you have that self-consciousness of, oh, should I have just gone home? Maybe they don't want to see me. I've created all of this big fuss, and now I'm intruding on people's space. And so by telling them that, hey, no, I see you, like, I am providing good care with the patient who just like now leaves the patient being like, oh, thank goodness, like everything was okay. They don't leave being like, I was going through a lot and my PT didn't say anything. They just continued on. And maybe after that, if I had just ignored what had happened prior to them coming to see me, they wouldn't have come back to me because they wouldn't have felt safe in my ability to see them and provide them holistic care. Or maybe they come back to me, but they don't fully trust me. And so that also limits how effective that I can be. And so my step one, de-escalate, affirm, but then also let them know that I'd be ready and willing to do care if they're up for it. So a time that I had a difficult time building therapeutic alliances / relationship with a patient was in my last rotation. We had a patient on my caseload who was very disengaged with all medical care. They were on an inpatient unit, and most definitely they were most disengaged with PTOT. But due to their medical needs, I was seeing them 3 to 4 times a week, really trying to get them off the gait belt because they were high fall risk, very weak, very fatigued, but just also fully not aware of how severe their condition was. And it got to the point where they were getting really frustrated and they wanted the gait belt off. They felt frustrated with the limited privacy and freedom because they always had someone holding on to them. And I had one session where I had to tell them, no, we can't clear you off the gait belt just yet. And they took the gait belt off and threw it at me. Thankfully, my CI had been there and helped me de-escalate that situation because it was definitely something I hadn't encountered before. And I left that appointment and I went to go see that patient psychologist. I let them know that, hi, this happened in PT and I really want to help reestablish patient goals and I could use your help with this. And so I went in with them, we did a co-session, and I just reiterated, I know your goal is to get off the gait belt. That is my goal too. I want to help you reach that goal. And the things I'm having you do in PT isn't just because I'm telling you, it's because they're going to help you get stronger, improve your balance, so you're going to be safe to be off the gait belt. And after that conversation, the patient did become a bit more engaged in just their PT care, and we would see them doing their daily ambulation with their CNA, and they were actually willing to do some of the things that I was bringing to them, whether that was strength or balance, and we were finally starting to see them improve. So we get to the day that I'm able to clear them from the gait belt, and they just smile and they immediately go to cover up their smile. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, this is big. This is exciting. You can feel happy. You worked really hard and you committed to this process and we are clearing you from the gait belt. This is an exciting thing. And smile. And they looked at me, made full eye contact, never had happened before, and just smiled at me. And that was a big moment for them because I think after that, they just had a way better relationship with the care team as a whole. But then also for me as a clinician, it showed me that if I stay committed to the patient, that I don't let these like moments of friction and difficulty stop me and make me like de-enthused about the care that I could provide from them. That's not being a good PT. Me being a good PT was staying committed to this patient, showing them that I'm here for their goals and I'm on their team and that I can do this. I can establish some type of connection if I work hard and I stay on it. Don't give up. And so honestly, this is experience and that moment will stick with me for probably all of my career because it was hard to get there with that patient, but that moment was so rewarding. Like I always get giddy thinking about it. So in a situation where my CI is doing an intervention that has conflicting evidence, I would just approach the conversation with curiosity. But I would also do it not in front of the patient. In front of the patient feels confrontational and like I'm being a little bit disrespectful about my PT's choice, the CI's choices, without fully even knowing where they're coming from. We talk about the clinical decision-making triangle, the patient's values and beliefs, the clinical experience, the clinician's experience, and then the available evidence. And because I may be new to that patient and I have less clinical expertise, I pull way more from the available research while my CI pulls from these two. And so if I just take a second and ask later on in a different situation, hey, why did you make that choice? I may find out a couple things. Maybe the CI had tried what the evidence said was more effective and it didn't work for this patient. Or maybe the patient believed in the treatment that they had been doing. And I often found that there are some things that if patient believes hard enough in that intervention, it can be effective, whether it's a placebo effect or not. Sometimes you just have to go with it. But what also may happen is that because available research may change so often, I may be bringing something new to the table that the CI wasn't considering, and they may be very willing to try it with the patient the next time around. But they'll also be appreciative that I came into this conversation open and respectful and just wanting to learn. That also helps strengthen the CI and I's collaborative relationship and helps kind of just have a better clinical experience as a whole because they know the questions that I'm asking isn't because I think I know best, it's because I just want to learn and I want to know more and I want to know what that clinical decision making was. And so I think it can end up being a really good opportunity for both of us to learn and both of us to kind of hear each other's point of views. And it may not always work out that way, but I find that if you approach with curiosity and openness and in the right situation, it can usually be a good conversation. So what brings me joy in work or in clinic? I've always worked in people serving jobs. So first and foremost, it is just the people. It's partially the people that I do the job for, the patients, clients, my peers, but then it's also the people that I do the work with, my colleagues, my teammates, my bosses, etc. Like the patients, like they're my why. I love getting to meet new people, learn about them, and also just being able to give something to them that they benefit from. I just find so much excitement and happiness from that. During my first rotation, I had a very wonky schedule that was like hard for me to adapt to. But when I reflect on that time, I'm not thinking about that schedule. I'm thinking about the one patient that I got to learn so much about and how I was able to find out that their kid was their biggest motivation to healing from their ACL tear, or the patient that I was able to like really push them and they would come to me at the end of every session and be like, this was a good one, Mac. You really got me. I felt like I was being meaningful and impactful with my care and getting to learn something from them in that moment too sometimes, which is really, really great. But then on the other hand, there's the team component. Like you spend 40 hours a week with the people you work with, and in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot of time. And in a good environment, you learn from each other and you support each other. And that's what excites me about joining a new team or organization. And it's not just the knowledge that everyone brings, it's the diversity of experiences. And so I love when I'm working with someone, it may have been like 3 weeks, and for some reason, a random hobby comes up that I never knew what they were doing, and they just get so excited. Like when you find someone's passion, there's a spark that lights in their eye. And I love when I get to unlock that. And that just brings me like an unsurmountable amount of joy when I get to do that. And I'm not unrealistic to know that I'm not going to always get along with every patient and I won't be besties with like everyone that I work with. But in all my past experiences, I'm always able to find some level of common ground that makes us have like a good relationship. We're able to benefit each other from in some way. But I also love the opportunity just to get to like learn and kind of be creative, maybe not in the traditional sense, but be innovative and have to try something a bit different than what I usually would have done due to someone's capacity, or maybe someone's very high functioning. And so I have to come up with like maybe something a little bit harder that I wouldn't try with someone else because they adapted to the other exercise really quickly. Like the opportunity to overcome a challenge and just, it almost feels like I'm learning by, it is learning, I guess. But it, being innovative is something, and being a space that allows me to be innovative and encourages me to step outside the box. Like I love getting to do that work. It makes me feel like I am just a, I'll be learning through the rest of my life, and it makes me even more motivated to come to work every day. So it's the people and just being encouraged to like think outside the box. Like that is what brings me so much joy when I'm in clinic and when I'm in any job. That is all I have. I really appreciate your consideration of my application. I look forward to talking with you during the Zoom meeting. Thank you. Bye.